This is Brother Peter Diamond, vaticancatholic.com. Flavius Josephus was a famous first-century Jewish historian. His works are crucial historical records of the First Jewish-Roman War and the destruction of Jerusalem in the year 70. Josephus was originally a leader in the Jewish rebellion, but after he was captured by the Romans, he switched sides and became a negotiator for Rome. He was very familiar with many events of the period, as well as the areas that play an important role in biblical history. In his work called The Jewish War, there's an interesting quote about the land of Sodom. As most people know, Sodom and Gomorrah are mentioned in Genesis chapter 19. Genesis 19 tells us that God destroyed those cities for the sin of homosexuality. We read in Genesis 19:24-25, quote, "The Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he destroyed these cities and all the country about, all the inhabitants of the cities, and all things that spring from the earth." End quote. In chapter 16 of Josephus's work, The Jewish War, he speaks of Sodom and he says, quote, "The land of Sodom, once rich in crops and in the wealth of its cities, but now dust and ashes. They say that owing to the impiety of its inhabitants, it was burnt up by lightning. Indeed, there are still marks of the fire from heaven, and the outlines of 5 cities to be seen, and ashes still form part of the growing fruits, which have all the appearance of eatable fruit, but when plucked with the hand, dissolve into smoke and ashes. To this extent, the stories about the land of Sodom are confirmed by the evidence of our eyes." End quote. It's very interesting that a first-century historian, who was obviously much closer in proximity to the events of the book of Genesis than we are today, declared that the land of Sodom exhibited the marks of its miraculous destruction. He says that it was destroyed by lightning, which corresponds closely to what we read in the biblical text. Regardless of what one thinks of Josephus, the fact is that he was a prominent and significant first-century historian. His statement about Sodom, therefore, constitutes more historical support for the truth of the biblical account.